Hello and thanks for joining us for Midday News. The Australian Federal Police, alongside Pacific Police Chiefs, has officially launched 2 advanced training and development facilities in Queensland, marking a significant milestone in the Pacific Policing Initiative's commitment to strengthening law enforcement across the region, including Papua New Guinea. Representatives from Papua New Guinea and other Pacific Island nations gathered in Brisbane on Tuesday, December 10th, to witness the opening of the PPI Development and Coordination Pinkenba Hub and state-of-the-art Pinkenba Training Centre. The facilities were unveiled by AFP Commissioner Rhys Kershaw and Australia's Attorney General Mark Dreyfus. RPNGC Commissioner David Manning, who has been instrumental in the PPI's design, highlighted the importance of these facilities in fostering regional collaboration and building capacity. Only 1 day remains in the grace period for grade 12 school leavers and non-school leavers. The Department of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology outlined that the grace period for the 2025 National Online Application System commenced on the 9th of December and will end on Saturday, the 14th of December at 11:59 p.m.
Grade 12 school leavers as well as non-school leavers have only 1 day remaining to make their choices on the National Online Application System. The Department of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology emphasized that the grace period, which commenced on the 9th of December, will end on Saturday, the 14th of December at 11:59 p.m. The 2024 selection for 2025 admission will be officiated on the 18th December 2024 by the Minister for Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology, Inoka Hotune Feo. Selection results will be published on December 20th through the applicant's NOAS account under the My Status tab. The Research and Liaison Officer for Private Institutions, Education and Health Colleges, Stephanie Minzihau, said the National Online Application System, launched in 2017, has included non-school leavers this year.
Previously, it was only for the school leavers coming out, the grade 12 school leavers, but for this year, we've included the non-school leavers. The non-school leavers, they include the FOD students, students that did not upgrade, but they were not selected right after graduating from grade 12. They just stayed out 1 year and they want to apply again. These are all students that are captured under the FOD, or when we say non-school leaver. So those students that matriculated, did not matriculate, but are applying a year later, and the FOD students, the ones coming out from not from the formal education. So we went around beginning of the year, we had workshops to alert our registrars on that.
Formal announcements will be made through the NOAS landing page, My Status Notice Board, DHER's social platforms, or by authorized press statements. Furthermore, for those applicants who see their choices highlighted in red, this means that their final results have not met the minimum program requirement. They must then change their choice to one based on the available and backup programs. Additionally, a choice not highlighted does not mean you have been selected. It means you have met this program's minimum requirement, and after selection, you will then know whether you were successful for this program or not. Frida Kana, TVWAN News.
Over 30 health officials from Central, East Sepik, Chimbu and East New Britain provinces attended a 2-day PHA dashboard training in Port Moresby. The dashboard, supported by the World Bank through the Impact Health Project, helps provincial health authorities monitor service delivery and improve decision-making, particularly in rural areas. The training emphasized performance-based financing, with PHAs required to meet key targets, including quality healthcare delivery and outreach expansion, to qualify for funding. Participants included PHA CEOs, senior officers aiming to strengthen primary healthcare system nationwide. Turning overseas, the federal government has declared an offshore wind zone in Bass Strait, 30 kilometers off Tasmania's north coast. The new zone is smaller and further away for the coastline than the original proposal, leaving some wind-warm proponents wondering if it's the right spot.
Federal and state energy ministers visiting Bell Bay on Tasmania's northern coast to declare an offshore wind zone in Bass Strait.
It's a good day for jobs, it's a good day for energy, and it's a good day for Tasmania. This
is the beginning of a new stage, a very new and exciting prospect.
The newly declared zone spans from Wynyard to Bridport. It's smaller than the original proposal at about 7,000 square kilometres and is about 30 kilometres from the coast instead of the original 20. At its peak, the zone could generate 20 gigawatts of round-the-clock power, but the turbines won't be spinning anytime soon.
This isn't something about tomorrow or the next day or next week or even next year. It'll take several years to get offshore wind up and running because it's a long process and we're starting from scratch.
Offshore wind developers now have until March to apply for a feasibility licence, but there are calls for that date to be extended, with the zone now smaller and further away from Tasmania than expected. Some wind power proponents are concerned about that distance.
That puts you in much deeper water, which makes the value proposition for floating turbines and or offshore turbines not quite as strong.
So we still have work to do to look carefully at the zone that has been declared, and but our take is the area off northeast Tasmania looks like it's got very strong prospects for an offshore wind project for TasRex and our partners.
A declaration prompting mixed reactions.
Grape growers have made an emotional plea for the establishment of the mandatory industry code to ensure the $45 billion industry stays viable. Growers have told the Senate committee this season is shaping up as another nightmare, and they are accusing wine companies of collusion and anti-competitive behavior. Increasing numbers of farmers are walking away from the industry after being offered prices hundreds of dollars per tonne, below the cost of production.
Wine grape growers are preparing for vintage 2025, the fourth in a row where prices being offered by wineries are lower than the cost of production by hundreds of dollars per tonne.
If we don't move to a mandatory code, then we can continue to lose our farmers to suicide, depression and bankruptcy.
Make it compulsory and have it up and running quick smart, because a lot of growers aren't going to survive 2020 to 2026 harvest.
Farmers contemplating leaving the industry as they struggle to put food on the table. Telling a Senate inquiry, wineries have been engaging in anti-competitive and manipulative practices, shortchanging growers.
And the wineries have colluded without a doubt, knowing we can get hopefully one more cheap vintage because we know the writing is on the wall because of the Senate inquiry.
Two of the larger wine companies told the inquiry a mandatory code won't resolve problems created by the glut of wine grapes.
There is a structural oversupply, and I'm not convinced that the mandatory code will change that, but we are open-minded in terms of whatever is for the benefit of the industry.
We do not support proposals to make the code mandatory. The ACCC argues that prescribing a wine grape purchase code would be significantly more complex and resource dependent.
The compelling arguments presented here in Renmark could be enough to convince the Senate committee to recommend the introduction of a mandatory code of conduct. But history shows it's a much bigger challenge to turn a recommendation into reality.
Two previous Senate inquiries in 2005 and 2016 recommended a mandatory code, but failed to get the political support needed.
So we will make our report as a Senate committee, and we will hope for government action to address these very significant concerns from growers who are in a real crisis.
We need to be very careful that the unintended consequences of making changes in the marketplace don't actually end up creating detrimental impacts on our growers.
With an election due early next year, growers will have to convince the new federal government to save their industry.
The Western Australian government has approved a 50-year extension of Woodside Energy Northwest Shelf plant on the Burrup Hub for a major liquefied natural gas project following a 6-year approvals process. Extending the life of the Karratha plant to 2070 is a major step in Woodside's plans to develop the $30 billion Browse LNG project of Western Australia's north coast.
To the Premier, it's a critical gas project to help in the transition from coal to renewables.
We are trying to save the planet, not just trying to save Western Australia, this small part of the planet.
Environment Minister Rhys Whitby gave the project extension the green light with a range of conditions after dismissing a record 770 appeals against the Environmental Protection Agency's earlier recommendation to proceed.
So disheartened today to hear that this project is going to go ahead.
It's the Minister's first decision since changing the government's greenhouse gas emissions policy last month to strip the EPA of the power to regulate emissions. Environmental groups say it would be the most polluting gas project in the Southern Hemisphere and threatened the 50,000-year-old rock art at Murujuga, also known as the Burrup Peninsula.
This is a massive kick in the guts to all West Australians and all Australians who are placing their hope in a government to deal with climate action and reduce emissions.
It is completely hypocritical to think that you can reach net zero by 2050 while approving gas exports beyond 2050 out to 2070. It just doesn't make sense.
As part of the conditions, Woodside must review its operations to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and monitor air quality. In a statement, Woodside says it's committed to ensuring it meets all environmental requirements and will consult traditional owners regarding its activities. But the project extension still requires federal approval.
We call on the Albanese government to reject the North West Shelf extension for both our future and our climate.
Environment Minister Tanya Plibersek has 30 business days to make a decision.
In sports, with PNG now confirmed to have a team in the NRL from 2028, PNG fans and rugby league community are curious about the colours of the jersey and the team name. PNG NRL bid CEO Andrew Hill, following PNG team announcement, indicated that the progress of the jersey design is in work. Hill said the name and colours of the team will be a high priority for him following the Christmas break, with progress of the jersey design already in work. He thinks the colours are going to be around the national colours of PNG, red, black and gold. In terms of the name, Hill said this will be the people's team. This will be the team that bring together lots and lots of people. Meanwhile, Hill said from day one they have never focused on the name, coaches and players. They just build relationship and pathways until the PNG team was announced. And that ends the news update. Join us at 6 tonight for main news bulletin.
PNG Tulimania, if you missed out on the first screening of Blessman, no MPC, catch the rerun on